It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And we are live. It is Car Con Carne, done from home for the time being. Welcome to Life in a Pandemic. It's Quarantine Con Carne, sponsored by C&H Financial Services. All the way across the internet, I find comic creator Steve Ellis. Steve, thank you for joining me from your home studio tonight.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I feel like I've known you for a long time. This is my first introduction to you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, hi, Moon.
I mean, it's funny. This hit me at the right time. I was rediscovering the Western genre in general, and I've always loved horror. So,
Yeah.
Nailed it. This is part of your legacy, I think.
Definitely.
For those who don't know what High Moon is, can you explain can you elevator pitch me?
Sure. I mean, the easiest pitch is werewolves in the Old West. But the way we usually pitch it is one man's struggle to decide whether to live like a beast or die like a man.
There it is. There it is. That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's all spaghetti Western with werewolves. Super inspired by anything with Clint Eastwood and all those old, Django movies from the 60s and stuff.
Yes, it totally caught me at the right time when you released it. And I still love it. And I love that this keeps coming back in various ways as time marches on. Yeah,
it does for me too. Like a few years ago, we actually got to reissue it on its 10th anniversary. We got to reissue it in a bigger package, and that was really nice. Oh, my phone just went off. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's live.
It's telling me to be here.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. And you're punctual, no less. You were here before I got here. Talk to me about life under COVID-19. I mean, I realize your life is kind of solitary in that you've got your studio set up. You're kind of built for this, but how are you holding up?
It's different because usually my days are spent a lot of times in my studio working, but a couple of things are different. Well, I have two children, so they're home all day, which makes it hard to focus in my studio. But then on top of that, I take a lot of inspiration by going out and kind of sitting in coffee shops and listening to people talk and kind of just having other people. I used to live in Brooklyn. And part of the just the sense of that noise, all those people around, kind of keeps me going. So I go hide myself down in a coffee shop and I sit there and I just kind of do my sketches, and that's the best place for me to think. So it's been harder for me to actually concentrate because I'm used to having all that noise. So it's a weird it's a weird kind of reversal for me.
Do you listen to music as you create?
I try. It distracts me though. I like music too much. So actually I'll put on the TV. I'll have movies or stuff I've already seen, so I don't have to watch it again, playing in the background. Like I was watching Breaking Bad for the umpteenth time today.
Which you can't go wrong with that. Can we talk a little bit about your Breaking Bad ventures?
Oh yeah, actually, we can. That's actually really funny. So you knew about that? Back. Well, it was I guess it was after season 3 of Breaking Bad. I got called up by AMC, actually because of High Moon, to do a Breaking Bad. It was a comic slash. It was an animated comic game.
Right.
Was the first thing we did, and so we went and we did a whole like game where you played Jesse and you're running around, kind of like. Someone stole Jesse's money and you're playing Jesse. So you're going throughout Albuquerque trying to find out who stole your money. So you're doing an investigation. Then we did as the same team kind of did a Walking Dead comic game, which was really cool as well. And then I think the coolest parts of that were between in season 5 of Breaking Bad, they had a break between the first half and the second half.
Right.
So we did a comic that actually I think only 400 were ever produced. That was a bridge comic between that kind of, not bridge, but a comic that retold the story of the first seasons of Breaking Bad leading up to the last finale season. And then when we did, and this was the coolest part. We did a Better Call Saul comic.
Right, the prequel.
Yeah, and so the Better Call Saul comic took place in the period of time between one of the episodes of Breaking Bad when you first meet Saul. And it's all of the characters working around Walt and Jesse, seen from Saul's perspective as opposed to from Walt and Jesse's perspective. So the whole episode, Saul is kind of in the TV show. Saul is kind of an extra character in the episode, and it centers on Walt and Jesse. Whereas in ours, it's the reverse, where Saul and Mike hadn't even been introduced in the show yet, are investigating who Walt is, because he's trying to figure out who this guy who took him out to the desert and threatened his life was. And so, the best part of the comic for me was there's a scene where Mike finds out who Walt and Jesse are, and he calls up Saul and he says, "I can get rid of these guys for you if you want." So there was a moment where Saul could have ended the whole thing.
That's fantastic.
And we wrote that scene. So it's just kind of a really neat, like fun, like we wrote that. I was working with actually one of the writers, Gordon, who ended up writing one of my favorite episodes of Better Call Saul, where Mike kind of tells his history.
Oh, that should win should have won all the awards.
Oh, it won almost all of them. But Gordon, I'm forgetting his last name, Smith. I'm not sure. But Gordon and I kind of worked together on that background story. It was really neat to kind of be a part of
such great characters. As an artist, I mean, because these characters, especially by the time season 5 rolled around, they were so familiar and people were so keyed into the show. Is there pressure to make them as authentic as you can? Do you worry like, oh my God, how am I going to draw Odenkirk?
Well, that was actually one of the things to try to do, was to try to capture, there's one way of looking at it where you could try to capture the likenesses through just lots of photographs. What I tried to do is capture their acting more than their likeness. So we had to get all the likenesses that I did approved by the actors and their agents. So everyone I did sketches for them, but I changed them a little bit so it'd be really easy for me to draw over and over again.
That makes sense.
So they don't really look exactly like them, but they look enough like them. And I think more importantly for me, they acted like them. So like Saul Goodman talks with his hands a lot. So there's a lot of that in the panels where he's doing this kind of thing. And Mike just kind of has that deadpan stare. So I just kind of had him doing the deadpan stare thing. It was really fun to kind of like, I never did that kind of a deep dive in watching the nuances of how people acted before, but that's like what I spent my time doing.
What a blast. Well, since we're on the topic of Saul and Breaking Bad, I'm going to ask 2 obvious questions. The first being, which do you prefer between the 2 shows?
Wow. I haven't seen the most recent season of Better Call Saul.
I will tell you, it puts everything together, and it is a relentless season. Like,
oh, really?
I can't wait. Slow burn. It was a slow burn leading up to the season, and now it's just bam, it's that's everything kind of you want.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. But there were, I think, some of the stuff that, like, if you're gonna separate the 2, I feel like I like Saul a lot better than I like Walt at this point.
Sure.
Because by season 5 of Breaking Bad, Walt is pretty dark.
Yeah, he is a villain.
And the Saul show is a lot lighter and a little bit more upbeat. And I kind of like that. He's this.
Well, Odenkirk's just all charisma in that role.
Yeah. But his confrontation with his brother was really that one scene where he kind of destroys his brother with the cell phone thing is just amazing.
Michael McKean is so great.
Yeah. I think that the fun part is that they're able to make such a dramatic thing out of something as small as like 2 numbers on a contract.
Yeah.
They can turn that into like an epic story, which is amazing.
So, favorite Breaking Bad episode?
Oh man. Well, the episode with the fly is one of my favorites.
See, that's the only one I didn't like. That's
Really?
That's the bottle episode. That's the one that you either love it or hate it because it's all shot in one space.
Yeah. I just liked it because I loved the cinematography of it. It reminded me of.
That's a polarizing episode, I think.
Is it really? I didn't. I had no idea. I think I just like it because I love the insanity of it. It's just so over the top. It reminds me of. Have you ever seen Delicatessen?
I have not.
Oh, it's or City of Lost Children. They're both French films, and they kind of have a Terry Gilliam kind of a feel. Like and I feel like the Fly, that the episode with the Fly has that too. Like very like in characters' faces and kind of zooming in on their expressions and kind of manic camera movement and stuff. It's exciting.
See, for me, I mean, obviously the face-off conclusion was one of the most indelible moments in television.
Yeah, I had to draw that.
Oh my God! And then it was the last season where they're all sitting at a table at a Mexican restaurant. Walt, Skylar, Hank, his wife, and they're all kind of talking in hushed tones. Hank wants to nail Walt for what he's done, and the waiter keeps coming to the table, and it's the most awkward, uncomfortable, makes you squirm in your seat as you watch it. I forgot the name of the episode, but that scene to me is as standout as anything else in that show, including the
that one scene where they confront each other in the garage, Hank and Walt. To me, that's like, oh, this is it's like when I realized after all this time, it's a Western.
Yes,
it's a Western. You know, like just that one shot. You're looking at Hank's hand, and you're looking past his hip, and you see Walt in the background, and Walt just turns. It's like, oh, it's a Western. It's so cool. It was amazing.
Right, let's jump around your career a little bit more.
Sure. Okay.
During this downtime, you are leading the Monster Art School. You're turning a negative into a positive. Explain what that is.
Yeah. Well. You know, my daughter is home, and she's been, you know, she likes to draw, and I just kind of realized, like within the first couple of days, that you know, kids are going to be home, and I just thought it would be. I teach illustration at Syracuse University, and I just thought it'd be fun to teach a how to draw monsters class. So basically, we've been doing like, you know, a new monster every day, 5 days a week, and actually some friends of mine from Chicago will join us pretty much daily.
Nice.
And but you know, I'm trying to get as many people as possible, because it's you know, I'm just doing it Facebook Live for free, and you know, because it's fun. My daughter and I sit and giggle, and we laugh, and we try to answer questions as we're drawing, and usually we draw really, you know, we were doing Norse mythology monsters last week, and this week we're doing Greek mythology monsters. So we did things like Medusa and Cyclops, and I'm not sure what we're going to do tomorrow.
So is that just from your personal Facebook?
Yeah, it's just from my Facebook, and I've been putting them up on YouTube, and I'm trying to figure out, like, this is because like this was all like spur of the moment. I'm going, well, maybe I should. I made a Monster Art School page, and I've put some of them up there because I think people can get them more easily that way. I'm not really sure, so I'm trying to figure out how to get them to more people. Because I know people keep going, oh, how do I see it? And I'm sending them to my page, but I don't know if they can find me all the time. So
you're not the only Steve Ellis in the world, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, that's true. But it's also, I think, it's like if you've reached your friends limit, they have trouble adding new people, or people can't follow you. I'm not sure. So there's some strange thing like that.
While we're on the monster tip, let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Did a bunch of IDW stuff. I've got to think it's super fun to draw stuff like that.
Oh, it is. For years, I was doing D&D stuff for the games, but I also was doing comics at the same time. So when IDW was doing the comics, I just kind of, you know, they kind of called me up and said, hey, would you like to do some covers? So I was doing covers for those. I did some R.A. Salvatore covers, and just regular AD&D covers. Well.
Do you play? Are you a role player? Do you do that stuff?
Yeah. It's actually, it's funny because I do. Yeah. I actually have a weekly Call of Cthulhu game that I'm involved in. But you know, it's funny because like for a while I was just doing the artwork because, you know, it was like I was playing games when I was in college, and I stopped, and then got some jobs doing it, and it got me back into it. So it's like this, it's fun. And I totally understand it, like on the player level, because I've run games, and then to do the art is really fun too. It's like a whole, you know, experience. So I'll write games as well and things like that.
That's awesome. On the other side of the fantastical, drawing things that are just whatever your mind can conjure up, working on the Green Lantern Corps. That's got to be, if you're a superhero fan growing up, that's a world you kind of want to inhabit as an artist.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I basically, anyone lets me go crazy with creatures or monsters, they're gonna get what they want because like that's, so like working on the thing about the Green Lantern Corps when I was doing that, I got to work with a character uh, of Guy Gardner. Well, it was all the three main old Green Lanterns. It was Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, and John
John
Stewart.
Stewart. Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't remember his name. And I always get him mixed up with the host. So I want to give him a different name.
It's very similar.
Um,
Yeah.
but just the name. But so it was fun because we were playing with those characters and their personalities, and I get really into kind of trying to figure out how people act. And so when I'm drawing, I try to actually get them to act like like people. So drawing Guy is very different from drawing Hal or drawing John. One is very rash and kind of not devil may care, but very angry.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is very stoic and kind of cold. And then there's the other one who's kind of a little bit more human than either of them. And it's kind of nice to have the three kind of working against each other.
What fun.
Yeah.
Let's jump to something that is a little more personal, a little more
Sure.
independent. The Only Living Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. The Only Living Boy. That's like actually, it's a really fun project. So after I did High Moon many moons ago, David and I, the writer of High Moon, and I got together and we did The Only Living Boy, and now we're doing The Only Living Girl. And The Only Living Boy is basically the story of a 12-year-old boy who runs away from home and wakes up in a fantasy world with monsters, dragons, demons, basically anything I can get my hands on to draw. But it's a kind of an action adventure, but it has kind of a darker understory as well. Because it's basically for when I was one of the main reasons we did it is my son was around. I want to say he was like 7 or 8. And I took him to the comic book store and I wanted to get him some comics. It was really hard to find him comics that were adventure comics that weren't too adult.
Sure.
And then at the time, and at the time there wasn't this, now there's a lot more stuff for kids his age, or what would have been his age. He's now 17, so it's a little different. But, when we started that project, there was just nothing out there for that audience. So we did this project for that. We were, basically thinking, when I was 10 years old and I wanted to read superheroes, there was a whole bunch of stuff that I could read that was adventure stuff. And, but they kind of got aged up a lot. Or if they were for kids, they were way too young.
I went through the same thing. My son's 18 now. So
same exact thing. So yeah.
We'd
so
go to the shop. I'm like, oh my God,
yeah.
I'm sorry. You can't read Batman.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then if you got them the kids Batman, it was like really, really kids.
Yeah.
And not exciting and not interesting and not fun. So it was a really hard place to be. So basically I did that. And then since then, out of that story came a whole secondary story called The Only Living Girl. And it kind of grew organically out of the end of the first series. So we were originally going to make it just Only Living Boy 2, but we decided that rather than do that, shift the focus to one of the other characters in the story so that she can take over, tell the story, tell the same story, but from a different character's point of view, and continue the story after we leave Eric from the first story.
So having your own independent project there and having worked on the other side for the majors, whether it's Green Lantern or Crimson Dynamo or whatever, you've seen the highs and lows, and now you see where the industry is at during the pandemic. What's next for your local comic shop? What's next for comic companies or independent creators? What's the vibe? What are you feeling?
I'm not really sure. It's been a really weird time. I know my local comic store is they're having trouble. Some of the stores are doing curbside deliveries. Yeah. There's been trouble. The one major distributor of comics basically shut down its warehouse. So a lot of the companies haven't had a way of getting books to stores. So even if they were open, they wouldn't be able to sell anything. So right. I know DC Comics and I think a few smaller publishers are starting a workaround distribution through a different distributor. So I think DC Comics are now coming in weekly again. but I don't know whether, I think it's a limited version of their line.
What a weird
Um,
time.
it is. I mean, I think, you know, I honestly, you know, it's kind of hard because I really like, I mean, I've worked on the web comics. You know, High Moon started out as a web comic. Even Only Living Boy was a web comic originally. Um, and I always saw the web as a way of kind of getting out the word, and then you sell the book later on.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking that might be the model now. Instead, like instead of stores selling the individual copies, we may just be waiting for books at stores, and the stores will have to, you know, I'm not sure. You know, we may have to wait a few months or years. Who knows how long this is going to last, right?
Right.
So I creatively, I'm trying to figure out ways of putting out my work on online because it's the only way to get it out, right? Where it's reliably getting out. And even that's been really hard because, you know, just trying to get the platforms and figure out the technologies, what platform you're going to use, and then wait for the platforms to be ready or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's been a juggle. I really, you know, I just don't know if we're going to have the same industry when this is done. I don't think comics are going anywhere, but the system that we had in place may be changing dramatically. But I don't know. That may be happening to books, to everything.
Right. I think it is. I mean, it's happening to music. I mean,
Yeah.
it's impossible to prognosticate, and all you can say is, well, I know it'll be different.
Yeah. I mean, like I know. I just saw a thing the other day about them shooting the next season of The Mandalorian, and they're doing it all with independent, like it looks like it was like actors in different places, not being in the same room with each other, and they're
Wow.
filming it like that with like digital backgrounds and everything. I mean,
It's crazy.
yeah, it is really crazy. So, I mean, to some degree, a lot of the work I do, like I did on top of High Moon and Only Living Boy, we did a project called Box 13. And that was David and I. And that was a basically built for the iPhone comic. So it was readable. It was made for the size and shape of the iPhone. And so I've been working in the digital space for a long time. Like that was back in, almost, High Moon was 2000, what, 5, 6?
Seems like
And
forever ago, but yes.
yeah, or 2007. And then Box 13 was like 2008. And so like I've been working in that space, in the digital space for a while. But I like physical books. So, you know, way back when we first started doing that, there was a lot of pushback from stores saying, oh, we're not going to be able to sell your books. You know, so there was kind of a animosity between the two.
Yeah.
And what we found was that, at least in my experience, is people were interested in the books as like an artifact. So if they really liked it, they bought the book.
Yep.
So it wasn't that that everyone was gonna buy the book, but that the people who bought the book would buy it and probably spend a little extra on a specialty edition.
See, this is
And,
why I
you know,
think the
have it
comics
signed and
industry,
stuff like that.
this is
What?
why I think the comics industry is so similar to music. I mean, what you
Mhm.
just said, if you had substituted the word vinyl for book, same
Right.
thing.
Yeah. I think that's really true. I mean, I think, you know, the edition of High Moon that you have, we just put out one a year ago that's like twice the size. It's actually at the size it was supposed to be.
Right.
And you can see all the details and everything, and it looks great. But it's like you know, when I go to shows and we try to sell them, I can't hold on to them at a convention. But that's because I'm signing them, and it might be because it's an artifact of that event. So that's why I don't know how good it would be for stores, but it might be good for signings. I'm not sure how that would work for a regular store. Like vinyl stores, they're not everywhere because it's a niche market. So that
True.
might be it might end up being more of a niche market than it already is. I don't know.
It is interesting. I have reverse thinking when it comes to books and comics/graphic novels. I love reading books digitally, actual text
Yeah.
books. I Kindle all the way. When it comes to comics, yeah, I have the apps. I've read them all online. At the end of the day, I do like I like reading them physically as opposed to online or on a tablet or whatever.
But I think if you read one that you were like, that's okay, you'd read it. I don't need to buy it, right? But then the one you really like, you'd be like, oh, well, I have to have that. I have to have it. I'll spend a little extra to get that extra special edition, right?
For sure.
I think so. That to me, that I think is the avenue towards having the project still work for the creators, but I think it cuts out the middleman in a lot of ways.
You're right.
And I don't know how that's going to work with regular stores and stuff like that.
I want to thank a few people who've been watching on Facebook as we've been recording. I want to thank Katie and Jessica and Mike, Pat, Izzy, John, Michael, Christina, Tim, Shannon, Patricia, Jenny, Carol from the Huntsman. This is a locally based metal band, the Huntsman.
Oh, wow.
Double vinyl release for their most recent concept album that includes a 27-page graphic novel that ties into the album.
Awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
That is really cool.
Band.
I did some comics for well, it wasn't a heavy metal title. I did what was it? I'm trying to remember the name of the company, Waxworks Records. Is that right? Well, anyway, we did this crazy thing about this band that a heavy metal band, or I guess heavy metal band that uses this Icelandic magic to make to make themselves like super popular. And the magic is actually a real Icelandic thing where you make pants out of someone else and you wear them. Yeah, it's really creepy, but it's apparently a real Icelandic magical spell.
Yeah, it's very Ed Gein.
Yeah, it's really creepy. But apparently the story was very cartoony, but it was really fun. It was like a really dark metal kind of, heavy metal guys. It was really fun.
So the fate of the industry aside,
yeah,
what's next for you, Steve?
Well, I'm working on The Only Living Girl, and I've been doing a lot of freelance projects, which are just kind of projects for other people. But I've always got new things popping in my head, and I have a project with David Gallagher that I can't talk too much about, but it's going to involve a podcast and a comic kind of combined, and a game as well. So I'm doing things like that. I just did a deck of cards through Kickstarter, which was a deck of monster family cards. They're like it's called the Thornclaw Manor Monster Family Card Deck, and they're just basically creepy monsters wearing suits and dresses, and they live in high society in the Victorian era. And they're really fun. They're just like fun. It started off as just weird little portraits, and then it's become stories. And so I'm working on a book for that, and the card decks, and then just kind of trying to keep up, with freelance work, and then seeing what the next big thing is coming out.
Are you one of those creators who's basically in his studio or in front of a sketchbook or computer 12 hours a day?
12 hours? 18 hours, maybe?
There you go.
Basically, yeah, it's hard. It's actually, if I was left to my own devices, I would never leave that headspace. But unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but fortunately, I have a wife and children that keep me human and fed and acting like a human being. But yeah, no, I would, if I was left to my own devices, I would just be in the studio and sleep on the floor in my studio and just work.
That's the image I have. Yep. All right, I want to wrap up the Facebook Live. Thank you all for watching. If you're on Facebook Live, I'm going to kill that stream. And Steve, thank you. This was great.
Yeah, this was really a lot of fun, James.